Is listening to modern worship music a sin? Let's talk about it.
So here's why Protestant music is not good. If your goal at church is to make you feel good, that's no bueno. If your goal at church is to make God feel good, you're doing something right. So worship shouldn't really be about you getting excited and pumped up. Instead, we should be showing reverence to Him, showing adoration, showing love. And Catholic music reflects that. It's made to be timeless, not trendy. Let me know if you agree in the comments below.
So this argument always makes me laugh because I feel like Protestants, Catholics, we always argue about this specific thing. Which music is better? Which music is a sin? I think this argument's interesting because the criteria he sets for God honoring versus God dishonoring music is reverence. And that reverence is defined by or determined by one's excitement. Why I find this interesting is because it takes the onus off the music itself and places it on the response of the worshiper. So really, it's not about the music under this argument. It's actually about how you respond to the music. If you're excited about the music, and the argument he's making is if we get excited or pumped up about a certain type of music in church, then it's bad because specifically it's not God honoring or not reverent. And he's arguing that Catholic hymns and Catholic types of worship are more adoring of God and more God honoring. So one question I have to ask though is, would it be wrong to walk into a Catholic mass and get excited about the hymns that are about to be sung? I mean, surely he's getting a little bit excited about how God honoring the Catholic form of worship is. But if the criteria that was set for God honoring versus God dishonoring music was excitement, then you can't have any excitement at all over Catholic hymns in mass. But again, surely plenty of Catholics get excited to worship the Lord in that way. So it seems like a hard argument to make if your criteria is basically excitement versus non-excitement. Secondly, what makes excitement and reverence opposed? Couldn't someone be both excited and reverent at the same time? My mind immediately goes to the story of Mary and Martha. Mary, the sister of Lazarus, was clearly really excited to see Jesus when he came and visited them, and she sat at his feet and listened to his teaching in adoration and in reverence. And Martha is actually the one who calls out Mary and says, hey, she should be helping me in the kitchen. She's doing wrong by doing this. And Jesus says, no, she's done the right thing by, again, not only being excited that Jesus has come to her house, but by sitting at her feet and acting in adoration. And so I don't think excitement and adoration necessarily are opposed. I think David's another really good example of this. When the ark of the Lord was coming into the city, David was excitedly dancing before the Lord. And that was viewed as God honoring. It was a God honoring form of worship. And so part of the argument that I don't understand here is why excitement and reverence necessarily are opposed. Third, and most significantly, in my opinion, is the theological side of this argument. He said, worship is not about us getting excited. Okay, that's fine if that's the argument you want to make. But then he said, it's about making God feel good. I think that's a really interesting statement in terms of theology because that's highly debated. This is called the impassibility versus the passibility argument. If God is impassible, it means he doesn't have changeable emotions. He doesn't have feelings in the way that he described in the video. If he is passible, he does have these feelings. But here's the problem for the argument itself is that Thomas Aquinas, who's likely, arguably, the preeminent theologian in Catholic history, would disagree with the idea that God has feelings, that we do things to make him feel good. He called this pure act. He said that God doesn't have any potentiality in himself. He doesn't exist in one way and then change to something else. So to make the argument that our worship makes God feel good, in Aquinas' eyes, would suggest that God lacks something and that us doing something makes him not lack it anymore. Even if we grant that God does have feelings, which again, many people agree with, and there's plenty of theologians that would agree with that. But even if we grant that for the sake of the argument, how do you personally know what makes God feel better versus not better? How would you ever be able to know that? And maybe you can scripturally, but I think that requires some scriptural justification if you're going to make that argument, which there was none given, which again makes the argument a little bit superfluous. Look, here's the bottom line. I actually kind of agree with what he's saying. I think at times modern worship music can be distracting, or it's not theologically accurate, or perhaps it's not rigorous in terms of again, the theological message. And again, maybe the lights are distracting at times. I actually think that Protestants and evangelicals should be moving towards probably a more serious and rigorous faith. But that being said, I still think the argument misses the mark in that it makes it about the music when it's actually not about the music itself. And even in his argument, it kind of suggests this. It's about the heart of the worshiper themselves. Which seems to be what Jesus is talking about all along in the Sermon on the Mount. Maybe he was on to something. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Protestant music bad? Is it a sin? Or is listening to Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham, is that all totally fine? I want to know what you have to say about it. Comment below. If you want to see more content like this, I'll be back posting more breakdown videos and more videos on theology. So like the video, subscribe, and I'll see y'all soon.